And nice to be in Derby. Hello, Derby.
Okay, so your first role that you played was in Warship.
Aha! Yes, the first role I played was in Warship. Now, what do you know about that?
I've heard something that you had to cut some of your lines.
Yeah, well, it's funny this, because growing up as a kid, I had a stammer, and it's typical when you want to choose a profession like an actor, when you have a stammer. So it's quite a few of us out there in the early days who had Charlie Dance had one, interestingly enough, and quite a few others. But so I got my first job. It's a little television show called Warship, and I have two lines to say. One line I have no problem with. The other line I just have a little bit of a problem with, and it was in the Acton rehearsal studios that we had in those days for the BBC. And on my very first day, full cast and crew, and my line, I had to come in through the door into the mess deck and say, "The first lieutenant wants to see you, Sheriff." That was all I had to say. And the director said, "Okay, Ian, just come through that door, action." And I went, "The first lieutenant wants to teach you." He said, "Ian, I have a little bit of a problem with that. Just try it again." I said, "Oh, sorry, just a little nervous." "No, it's fine. Just try it again." "The first okay." So we cut to a week later, and I've been going in my bedroom at home. I've got a week before I go back again to do it again. I'm going, "The first lieutenant wants to shoot." There's no problem. So I go back in again, and of course, what happens is the first lieutenant wants to see you, Sheriff. And the director goes, "Ian," thinking about that line, he said, "There's a nickname for the first lieutenant. You can call him Jimmy." And I went, "Oh, thank you so much." "Okay, I just come through the door." I said, "Thank you. Came through the door, and he went, "Actually," and I went, the Germ. And so I noticed that there is, on the wall, in the rehearsal room, there's like a loudspeaker, and I noticed this woman has been reading these lines out, and I asked her surreptitiously, because she's one of the sort of script supervisor ladies, and I said, "These lines, they're coming out from a loudspeaker system." So I go to the director and I say, "Look," two lines I have. I said, one line I could say, the other line, you know, and I know I can't say. Can that go through the loudspeaker and I just have half a feed?" He said, No, you can keep a feed, we'll put it through the loudspeaker. 6 months later, the same director employed me on Bergerac. So there must be a God somewhere. That was the story about Warship, absolutely.
And how did you overcome the stammer?
I still got it. There are times when I don't say what's scripted. There are times when I just say my own version of what the script should be. I can't tell you how many cups of tea I've had when I've really wanted coffee. So there you go.
So why did you become an actor in the first place?
Well, it was the laughter. Hearing people laugh is an aphrodisiac, and that was, I did it at school, and because I was a fat boy. As you know, as fat boys can get off very well, getting teased if one makes people laugh, you can get away with a lot. So that was my first introduction into humour and the payoff that can come from it, yeah. So a lot of humour.
So you went on to do something in 1995 called The Edge of Darkness?
I did, my goodness me, there we go, that was a show. That was a show that catapulted a lot of people into the stratosphere. One was Martin Campbell, who I worked with subsequently on a show called feature film in Australia called No Escape with Ray Liotta, and that was a prelude to him getting the Golden Eye, because No Escape was quite a big action movie. It gave Martin Campbell, who was the director of Edge of Darkness, his entree into that, and of course he's not stopped since with Zorro, and also the remake of Edge of Darkness with who's that wonderful actor? We all know who it is, don't we?
Someone said them.
Yeah.
I heard someone say
Lethal Weapon. There you go.
Cool. And then 10 years later you worked with Jim Carrey in Ace Ventura.
Oh, Jim Carrey. Yeah, there you go. There's a boy. There is a boy. And when I have to say that for 24 hours a day, he does not stop. If you can imagine that type of performance going on, not only in front of the camera, but also for the crew members around, he just doesn't stop. He's on 24 hours a day. It is exhausting and funny. And trying to keep a straight face when he's doing what he does. I got known as Reaction Jackson McNiece because I was able to, because of course it's not scripted, he's not doing anything in the script, he's completely improvising. And so I managed to understand or get a feel for when he finished, so I could come in with my lines and I didn't tread on his toes. So I was one of the few people that didn't get fired on the show because he has this habit of firing people that he doesn't get along with. So yeah, no, it was a tough cookie.
Was a lot of the stuff he did in that improvised, or was it scripted?
Huge amount was improvised, and improvised on the set, each day. And of course, the other extraordinary thing is that if he didn't, as it were, in inverted commas, feel the moment, as it were, he would stop. So 3 o'clock in the afternoon, if he wasn't getting what he wanted to do, he would stop, and that meant everybody else stopped, and everybody went home because there wasn't anything else he could do. He went home, everybody else did, and of course it turned up at 8 o'clock, or not exactly 8 o'clock. It was not exactly early bird, as Mr. Gary tells everybody wants. But he, the producers had a few words with him, and he turned around one day and literally said, "Do you want an opening weekend of $40 million?" And that's exactly what he produced. Ace Ventura, when it opened, over the 3 days it opened, it grossed $40 million. And that show cost $7 million to make, $8 million to make, so you can do the math on that. And I don't know, when we did that show, the next show that he was going to do was Cable Guy. On Newsweek, on the front cover of Newsweek, it had the first $20 million movie maker, and it was him. He was the first one to get $20 million for a movie, and then they all did. Hanks, Cruise, they all got it, and he was the first one who did. I asked him because the Newsweek came out whilst I was making the movie, and I said, "Well, what's it like to be paid $20 million a movie?" He said, "It's like getting a golden birthday cake every morning in your life." And that's what it is. It's extraordinary. But the effect it had was horrendous, because once they started paying those figures, everybody else's fees went down. And that was the absolute truth. Everybody suffered.
Do you still get recognised?